So, welcome to the start of the Holy Week. Jesus comes riding into Jerusalem. And as we start our Holy Week, I want to talk about something that the youth knows that it's been weighing on my heart for a super long time now. So, we're going to try to get through this. So I'd like to welcome all of our first-time guests first before I try not to get emotional in front of you guys. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jared, born and raised in the area. So a lot of people know my past, know where I come from. And I don't know how many people I've told this story to. It's a story about me letting something go. It's kind of a funny story, right out of the gate, but then I'm going to bring it in. Just about 21 years ago, I met my wife. And okay, so there I am. I'm a punk teenager, and I'm with one of my brothers. I consider him a brother, and we're going to his parents' house. And along that trip through Troy and to his parents' house, we find ourselves behind this little red Ford Fiesta. And these two people in front of us are just, complete maniacs. And they're tearing up his parents' driveway and putting the car into the ditch and tearing some stuff up. And we get up to the house, and these two guys get out of this car, and they just had some words. Hey, stop tearing up my parents' yard, blah blah blah. Well, the driver of that vehicle is now currently my brother-in-law. The passenger in that car was, at the time, my wife's boyfriend. And she was having a sleepover with all of her friends at my brother. He's the brother to me. And at his sister's house, my wife was having a sleepover with a bunch of her friends. And she walked out of the front door, and I said, boom, wife material. So my job as a man and a punk teenager was trying to find ways to make that reality come true. So a few months go by, I kind of win her over, and on a side note, my current brother-in-law was totally against that. But he has since got over that. And her family were extreme dirt bike riders. And long story short, I said, I can ride a dirt bike. It's going to be hard. I got to win this girl's heart. I'm going to buy a dirt bike, and I'm going to be like this crazy guy on a dirt bike. And she's going to be like, oh my gosh, I love you. And the story's going to end happily. It went kind of like that. So now, here I am. I said, I got to get a dirt bike. So my brain says, what's a good dirt bike to buy? And her dad, at the time, had this old KX250. I don't know how many people out there are dirt bike riders, but a KX250 is not, 100% is not the bike to start off on. So that was my first bike. And I'm watching these guys and her brothers and everybody on this dirt bike track. It was out back of their house. And they're going around this track so fast. And I said, I got this. And there was a lot of warning to me about how powerful this bike is. And I'm like, bet. I got this. So I hop on it, and I'm going around, and there's this thing called a power band, which is probably unnecessary on a two-wheeled vehicle. But there's this power band that you hit that once the bike runs almost out of power, this power band says, oh no, now you have turbo. So once you hit that power band, you have to hold on. And so I'm going around the track and I'm getting comfortable and I'm like, all right, I got this. And these guys are launching their bikes off dirt mounds and landing on other dirt mounds. And instant flashback to my childhood, I'm like, pedal bikes, same thing, I got this. So I'm on and I'm going as fast as these guys and I'm listening and I'm watching and I hit my first jump. And I don't know how long it was. I'm guessing as fast as you can blink, as fast as your eyeballs can blink, I made a decision in my head. As soon as that bike left the earth, I said, not me. I'm not going with you. So I let it go. I let the bike go. I didn't care what was going to happen. I said, I'm safer on the ground. So I hit the ground, and I barrel roll a few times on the dirt. Bike goes flying, lands, skids down, crashes. And I said, oh, not a good way to start there, Hoss. So I gain my composure. I get my pride back. Get the bike, take it to my grandpa's house. And my cousin is kind of mechanically, I guess. I'm not 100%. And so he helped me fix this bike up, get it back to where I could go again. And I said, instead of doing this in front of her brothers and her family, side note though, her dad sold me the bike, so I think he had something else in mind for me, buying that from him. So we fixed it up, and now I'm riding down to East Troy with my cousin, comfortable zone, just me and him, no judgment, no nothing. And I'm going around the yard, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting comfortable again. And he, at the time, had a 125, and we're jumping this, he is jumping this conversion ditch. And I said, well, how are you doing this? What are you doing? He's like, well, I have it in third gear, and I just pin it right before I get there, so it hits the power bands, and I go sailing right across. Easy, land, you ride it out. I said, all right. And it didn't compute in my brain that he was on a 125 and I was on a 250. So his third gear and my third gear are two different animals. So I'm in third gear, right before the conversion ditch. Wham, I crack it. And this power band says, hey, did you forget about me? And I didn't. I knew it was there, but I thought, I'm a guy, I'm a teenager, I have to win this girl. And as soon as that bike left the ground, I said, nope. And I let it go again. I barrel roll. This time it was on grass. I was thinking a little bit. So I landed on the grass, and I roll, and I tumble, and I stop, and I look up, and this bike is still going. And it's headed right for this big maple tree. And right before it hits the maple tree, it veers off to the right, falls down on its side, and it skids on the road. And at that moment, I said, before something absolutely painful happens to me, before I get absolutely injured in a way that I can't just barrel roll out of, I have to let this thing go. If I want this girl, I have to let this bike riding dream go, and I have to win her in a different way. So that's my first story of winning my wife over in the most embarrassing way. So I had to learn to let it go. And I did. It wasn't a hard decision. We can do this another way. Sorry, I wasn't keeping track of my notes. I gotta scroll. So that's the story of letting it go, holding on to something in a bodily form to where we're not going to hurt ourselves. We all put on earplugs before we shoot guns. We all put our seatbelt on before we get in the car. There's certain things that we do to protect our body when we know we're going to be in harm's way. But what happens when the pain is something that cuts deeper? What happens when What happens when people in your life tell you you're not good enough? What happens when people tell you you're never going to be anything? What happens when they hit your heart? And they remind you that, your whole family's alcoholics. There's the line that they drew for you. Get in line and follow it. What happens when it really hits home and you start believing these things? Pain, abandonment, abuse, ridicule, and prejudice. What happens when these things are fed into you for so long that you start taking out on people behind you? We all have goals and ambitions. We all want kids. When we take these pains and hurts and cuts and we let them affect us to the core of our being, all we have when we're walking is eyes on us. We have our future that's looking at us, and we're teaching them how we're dealing with these things, how we're handling these situations. When people tell you that you're not good enough, when people tell you this is all you're going to be, we have our future watching us and watching how we handle those situations. And we have a choice. There's always a choice. We can deal with that. We can walk the same road. We can listen to everybody and everything they say to us. Or we don't have to listen. We can choose to forgive these people. We can choose to move past the road that's been laid before us, and we can decide to go a different road. Like Joseph in the Old Testament, we absolutely live in that same fallen world where people tell us what we are and what we aren't, and what we can and what we can't do, and what we're going to be, what we're not going to be. And we can either choose to hold these things or not hold these things. He had 11 brothers. I have 3 brothers, and that was at times too much. He has 11, and they're all against him. They planned to kill him. Your brothers planned to kill you, and instead, thankfully they didn't kill him. Instead, they sold him into slavery. And he was in slavery. And then he had to go to prison. And years go by. And he ends up becoming the second in command in Egypt. And his brothers come. And he sees his brothers. And he says, I don't hold anything against you. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go get our father. I want you to bring him back to me. And I am going to give you the best of all of Egypt has to offer. And he made that choice to forgive his brothers who've done so much worse than I ever went through. My brothers never sold me for slavery. I don't think they ever plotted to kill me, but at times probably. We've injured each other before. But he chose at that moment to forgive him, to move past the things that were trying to hold him back. Every day we're faced with these same choices of forgiveness. Every day we are faced with a lot of simple things that end up being such a huge issue. My family will tell you this. Don't laugh. When I'm walking through the house, this is crazy how easily we get set off. When I'm walking through the house and the dogs just got done drinking out of the dog bowl, and I have these nice fresh socks on, and I step in water with socks and I have wet socks, there's times where I instantly go to 100 so fast. And it's these little things. It's waking up and stepping in water with fresh socks. It's your kids not doing their homework when you tell them to. It's how many ladies out there, how many wives, we're missing a lot of them, I understand, but how many wives out there absolutely, without a doubt, love it when they know their husband or their child has looked at that garbage can full and has made that conscious effort to say, she'll get it, and walk away. Right? These are real issues that we deal with that are so small that when that wife sees that husband or that child, I'm not saying she's at 100, but maybe an 80, right? And then she, in return, lets that person know how angry she is. So now we went from a 40 in the morning to an 80, and now by the afternoon, she just can't wait to see her husband because she's been dealing with that little thing all day long. That when he walks through the front door, she's standing there, red-faced, just waiting to lash out at him, right? And that's how arguments start. That's how things become bigger things. How many times, this is another one of my vulnerable spots that I'm letting you guys know. Because I'm thinking to myself, it's not just me, right? Like, I'm not the only one in the room that gets mad at, like, little things. And I'm like, I'm starting this argument. You know, we have that split-second decision that we can either brush that thing under the rug, or we can bring it to the forefront of everything and say, see what you did? I know you yelled at me, but see what you did, right? And then a few weeks ago, Travis was up here preaching, and he says, we got to do this for that, right? Well, sometimes it's not this for that. Sometimes we want to be, well, it's tit for tat. You did this, and you yelled at me for this yesterday, so I just want you to see that what you yelled at me for yesterday, you just did, right? Am I being truthful? That only goes on in my house? How many husbands love it? Love it. When you get in your car, you turn that ignition on, and that gas light is staring at you. And you know you left it on half tank, but that gas light's on, and you're like, ooh, this is way bigger than a full garbage. Way bigger. Full garbage has nothing on an empty tank of gas. Because I love to be where I want to be earlier than early. And now I have to wait 10 minutes to fill this tank of gas up. Oh. So then it becomes a bigger issue, right? And then we create it into a fight instead of just saying, it's a tank of gas. It is just a tank of gas. And the more I've been in this forgiveness stage of my life, I'm just a baby in this forgiveness stage because there's a lot that I need to work on personally. And the average, this is my simple thinking. The average American lives to be 75. I am knocking, right? I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But I'm approaching 40. So, by those numbers, I am more than halfway to Jesus. Right? Why do I let these little things bother me? Why do I choose to get so frustrated and ruin so many people's day? Because when I step in water, and it's just water, some of it's probably come out of the dog's mouth, so it's dog water now. So when I step in that, and then my temperature rises, I'm not the only person in the room. I got my wife, the dogs know. The dogs are like, oh, run. So they go. But now I have a teenager. I have 2 teenagers now. That's how old I am. And I'm the role model, right? I'm the role model that they're watching get completely upset over stepping in water. So now they're going to take that where? They're going to take that to their life, right? And say, well, Dad stepped in dog water and this is what he did. Ah! So now when I step in dog water, ah! Now I'm passing that little temperature gauge that just climbs over something so small to our future generation. And now they have to deal with it. While I soak in my wounds and continue to play and get nothing out of it. But Jesus, so failure to forgive can result in increased, not only, back to my bike riding story, I'm a bouncer. I said, bodily injury, and it's not just on the external. Failure to forgive can result in increased anxiety, depression, elevated blood pressure, vascular resistance, decreased immune response, and worse outcomes in coronary artery disease. Just because you're keeping that bottled up inside of you, and you can't forgive what people have said, what people have done to you, on purpose or by accident, right? How many? I said this to the youth, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe. How many of you get hurt feelings when somebody says something to you? 4 of us, good. The rest of you are perfect. So I said this because, like I said, I'm in a stage of forgiveness, and I'm in a stage of my life where I'm really looking at the importance of getting angry, holding on to what people say. But how many people in here knows what's going on in Jaden's head right now? Nobody, right? We have no idea what is going on in Jaden's head because we're not mind readers. He could be dealing with something so severe right now, and we have no idea. But in what he says to us might not come out the way he wants it, because we don't know where he's at. But what he says to us, we take to heart, and we let it eat us alive inside. He might just be having a bad day, because who knows? The Giants lose, right? So he takes that, and he exerts that to us, and then we have to take it a certain way. So depending on what they're thinking, what kind of a day I'm having, what's going on in their mind, how they deliver that message to me, and how I perceive that message, there's so many variables going on in this that we get so offended, and we have no idea where the other person is in their life, or in their day, or in that second. He could have just stepped in dog water, took it out on me, and now I'm having a bad day, so I give it back to Sadie. Now I got Sadie upset, so she gives it back to Tacey. Now the whole house is where we want them to be, right? We're all at 100, and we're all just waiting for the next thing to point out to the next person. But Jesus offers us a great exchange, right? Back to what Travis was saying. It's an exchange. We have to give him you take this so I can receive what you're giving me. You're going to pull up Isaiah 61:3. To console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes. I'm going to give my ashes to Jesus, and he's going to give me beauty. That's an exchange that he's waiting for us to get over ourselves over so we can be at peace with him. The oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. So Jesus is waiting here with open arms. And it is just a simple decision that we have to make. To say, you take all my ugliness. You take all my anger. You take all the words that these people said about me and that these people wanted me to go through. And I'll just take peace and I'll just take joy. Because that's Jesus and that's what he wants from us. Our part is really simple. And it's so simple. All we have to do is forgive. That's it. We don't know why people do what they do. We don't know where they are. All we have to do is forgive them. It's really simple. Now, a lot of you might be sitting there saying, I don't want to trust them. Huge difference between forgiveness and trust. Trust is lost. Snap of a finger. Forgiveness is given in a snap of a finger. Our job is to forgive. We don't have to trust them. There's people in my life that I got away from because of the journey that I wanted to, the different journey that I wanted to take, the different place that I wanted to take my family, that I know that I can't trust them in this situation. I can't trust myself in certain situations. So I can't put myself in those spots. So I'm going to stay over here, and I'm going to keep walking in forgiveness and not trusting, not just them, but I'm not going to trust myself over there because I know what that is. And I want to keep walking in forgiveness. So don't get forgiveness and trust mixed up. A lot of times we put ourselves in those situations where, I forgive you. Let's do it again. I forgive you because you did this to me, but I'm going to put us in that same situation to see if I get the same results. Right? And then I get down that path again, and I take those bad choices. But you know what? I forgive you. Again? Yeah, I trust you again. Sure. How many times are we going to keep putting ourselves in these spots of vulnerability to let people hurt us the way they hurt us? We have to be able to separate ourselves to where I don't need to trust you because I'm not going to be with you. I don't need to trust you because I'm not going to be put in that situation again. Right? It's just as much our fault sometimes as it is the people that hurt us. So we have to remember that. Let's go to Mark 11:25. And whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, that your Father in heaven may also forgive you your trespasses. Let's back up. What's the important part here? Right? We forgive anything against who? Anything against anyone. Right? Because we like to put things on a platter of saying, this isn't that bad, this is that bad. But we don't know where people are mentally, emotionally, physically. So when you tell me I'm going to end up an alcoholic because my whole family did, and over here, you called me a name, or you called somebody a name. Just because that sounds more severe doesn't mean that this person is going to take it any less by you calling them a simple name, right? Because we don't know where people are. So you can say things to somebody that's going to affect them differently than when you say them to another person. So we have to guard our tongues. We can only put out good things if we want good results. Ephesians 4:31-32. Am I getting through? Understand what's going on? Let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you. How many times do we sulk in our own wounds and we want Christ to forgive us, right? We do something bad. Lord, please forgive me. Jesus, I almost had it that time. Please forgive me. I'm going to do better. But we're not going to extend that to somebody that said something bad about us. We're not going to give them the grace that we want. We're not going to give them forgiveness. We want it, though. We want it all day, all night. He sees my heart. He knows that I want forgiveness. But not that. I don't have time to forgive them. They hurt me deep, right? They said some things to me that I can never get over. But please, Lord, forgive me. Forgive me before you forgive them, because they said some stuff to me that that was pretty offensive, and I took it the wrong way. Probably it's all my fault, but forgive me anyway. I'll judge them. You judge me, I'll judge them, right? And I say that because I'm in the season that I am in. I've been a part of a sibling ego bout, a sibling pride bout, that I was asked for an opinion, and I gave an opinion from my heart, and I was very truthful, and that ended in a 5 to 6 year silence between two brothers that were super close, super tight, been through so much with each other. For 5, 6 years, we didn't speak. And it's affected both of us. It's affected, I couldn't even tell you how many people it's affected. Friendships, parents, grandparents, cousins. My kids could have seen a few of their cousins, a lot more. They didn't have two knuckleheads holding grudges, being proud, putting their egos before what really matters. And that's time we can't give back to them. But lessons are learned. Forgiveness is given, and we move on through that. And now, I think it's been think it's been 4 weeks, these past 4 weeks, that we've spent just about every day together. We've been back together for these past 4 weeks, and it's like nothing happened. And the words that come out of his mouth, my mouth to him, it's like we were back in high school again. For egos, for being proud. You hurt me. I'm not talking to you. You hurt me. Well, you hurt me first. And one thing left to another, and it was tit for tat, and this and that, and silence. 5 to 6 years. 2 people this close. No more. Thankfully, it's over. Thankfully, we're back to where we were, but it was like, if we just came together that quick, that simple, and it was like we never left. Why? What was that all about? And it's so silly, and it's so mind-boggling. And it's the closest people to us. It's the closest people that we're with every day, that we love the most, that can throw the biggest daggers at us. And we hold people differently. What this person says to me, I get offended by. This person says the same thing to me, and I'm fine with it. My biggest mentor in the military, Sergeant First Class Walton, love the guy. He's in Florida now, retired, and I used to stay with him and his family down to Fort Indian Town Gap when I worked there full time, and he helped me go to all my schools, and he helped me get most of my promotions, and he was just the guy that you wanted to be around. And us being buddies, 100. I hope he's watching. He would not. He was my superior, and we worked side by side, and he would not hesitate. When I say would not hesitate, I mean would not hesitate. Like when a vase falls and it's super expensive, and then you instantly go to grab it, and it falls and breaks, then you get mad, and you're like, ah! Like that sort of did not hesitate. When I did something wrong, he would go up one whole side of me, and then he would come down the other side just as harshly. I needed to be taught a lesson. I did something wrong. And as soon as he was done, it was done. And we were back to being boys. And I don't know why he's the only person in my life, it seems, that could do that. Because when my wife yells at me, when my kids are upset at me, when my brother-in-law reminds me of how much he doesn't want me in his life still, but I'm like, too bad, you're stuck with me forever, right? When they say something to me, I hold on to it, right? And I wait to return that favor sometimes. You spilled the milk. Yeah, but when you do it tomorrow, I'm going to let you know. We hold on to those things. He's the only person that really can throw as many daggers as he wants, and it doesn't affect me. Super, super strange. Forgiveness is hard. Jay, you want to come up here? I had to think about who I was going to have come up here and do this little demonstration, because I'm a guy, and as a lot of you know that are married or have boyfriends or have a significant other, us guys are pretty tough to deal with when it comes to talking to. And my wife likes to get the crayons out for me and draw me a picture, so I can be like, oh yeah, now I know. So I had this demonstration I know all the girls understand what I'm saying, but I wanted to have a guy up here. He, I don't know if you can tell or not, but we've been back in the gym. We've been back in the gym. He's helping me do squats yesterday. It was crazy. Forgiveness is hard because the hurt mattered. The ego is only the one that's to be sorry. The ego is the only one that's too proud to forgive. The soul is always ready. Your soul is always ready to forgive. It's your ego that we have to get past. Forgiveness is only another name for freedom. And if we're sitting there waiting for them to forgive us, that's probably the same thing that they're thinking in their head. They're just waiting for you to forgive them. So now you got two different people that are both waiting on the other person. Right? And it could go 5 to 6 years. And a lot of families could be broke up because both people are waiting. So, depending on the kind of offense, like in the military, they start off when you first get there a few days, depending on what branch you go in, and they give you this M16. And that's your lifeline. That's what you're going to start doing PT with. This thing's only 7 pounds, right? Hold that up. So this thing's only 7 pounds heavy. But in life, we hold our own bucket. We hold our own baggage. But when people start putting things in there like anger, when people start putting things in there like you're not tall enough, when people start putting things in there like I don't like your hair, hold it up. When people start doing things like your dreams aren't gonna come true. Okay? You're too overweight. Right? We sit there and we learn how to hold these things. We learn how to grasp onto them and use them. Right? Now he's put your other arm up there. Now he's comfortable again. Now we're just going to let him sit with those problems, right? Because he wasn't comfortable holding them with one hand, but he had to use his other hand for support because there's too many problems to hold on to with just one. So when we start doing other things like your grades aren't good enough in school, when we start saying, nobody loves you, when we start saying, we don't like your car, everybody else is leaving you, why should I stick around? You want to get more comfortable? Why don't you get down on the knee? Put it on your knee. Right? So now we're braced up. Now I've taken everything that you've told me about myself. Everything that you told me about my family. Now I got it. Now I'm comfortable. Now I can hold this for a long time, right? Because now I really have dug deep down into my ego, into my pride, and you're not going to break me. So since you're not going to break me, I'm going to post up. It was too heavy to hold by myself. It was too heavy for me to hold all these things when I got a little bit of help from my right arm. But since you've given me too much to handle for both my arms, I'm going to get down on the knee so I can post up my knee because my legs We did leg day yesterday, so I know his legs are strong, right? He had to help me do squats. And we hold all of these things. All this stuff adds up to the point where we can't carry it. Then we start dragging it. Then we start posting it up. We'll do everything we can to hold on to all of our problems. Because I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to deal with all these problems. Because I can. Because I'm proud. Because of my ego. I'm going to show you I can do it. The truth is, our Father is waiting for us to surrender all of our problems to Him. Right? He wants us to release our burdens to Him. He already paid the ultimate sacrifice. He paid the ultimate sacrifice on the cross so we wouldn't have to suffer. We just have to choose to let our Father take the problems. I'll carry this thing all day so He doesn't have to suffer. Right? Our Father will do the same. He's waiting for all of your problems. He's waiting for you to forgive the people that hurt you so you can live in peace, so you can live in the freedom that was intended for you. Yeah, you're good. Thanks, man. Now all the guys get what I was talking about. Band, I guess I'm almost done. Maybe. So on this Palm Sunday, as we celebrate the triumph that Jesus had going into Jerusalem, let us start our victory by forgiving the people we need to forgive in order to grow the kingdom for the King. We can just start walking around with all the love and the freedom that was intended for us. Here's the thing. It's not just a today thing. We can sit here and we can ask for forgiveness. The Heavenly Father will forgive us. It doesn't matter if the people that you need to forgive you or not. Our job is to forgive. Their job is to forgive. So today when you come to the altar, or when you sit in your seats, or when you go home, and you forgive the people that you know in your heart, and everybody probably has somebody on their heart right now and on their mind that you need to forgive. When you do it and you experience that peace and you experience that freedom that happens when you forgive those people, the fight's not over. Because tomorrow when you wake up, that garbage is full again. You didn't take it out. When that gaslight comes on again, things happen every single day. And we get offended every single day. But we can choose. We can choose to empty that out every single day. We can choose to empty that out because it's only going to continue to get stuff put in it every day. Don't let your bucket overflow with problems. Don't let your baggage overflow with things that people say that hurt you. Make sure you empty that garbage out every single day. It's a simple prayer. It's, Heavenly Father, I choose to forgive this person. You fill in that blank. I choose to forgive this person for that offense. It made me feel this way. And it's that simple. You can walk around with peace and freedom and love every single day when you forgive people. Because when we're all walking around not offended, and we're walking around with the peace and the love in our hearts that was meant for us, all we're going to do is keep the enemy at bay. All we're going to do is grow the kingdom. And it's that simple. So if you would like Let today be the start of your freedom. Let today be the start of the forgiveness, for the peace that Jesus died for us, for you. So if you want, you can come to the altar. There's elders here, there's deacons here. They'll pray with you, they'll pray for you. If you just want to sit in your seat, that's fine too. We're not going to put any pressure on you. But at the least, we ask this. When you go home, take some time for yourself and reflect on the people that have hurt you. Give them to Jesus. That way you can live in the freedom that was intended for you.